All right. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. Another installment of Get a Clue in 52. This edition is for coaches. I'm remote this week. I'm in Las Vegas. Shout out to one of my best friends on the planet, Brian Trachel, for letting me house sit for him. It's always great to come into Las Vegas. We had a conference earlier this week, fantastic conference, Education 2.0, that was put on in the same location by the same people as the Marketing 2.0, Internet 2.0, and Real Estate Law and Finance 2.0. So 4 different conferences, but with a centralized hub. So the interaction was fantastic. We're still here in Vegas, enjoying ourselves a little bit with plenty of work to do. Let me see Sue's coming on real quick. Let me add Sue to the stream. Hello, Sue. Happy Friday. Welcome to another installment of Get a Clue in 52 for Coaches. I was setting the context. Now, most people know by now that Get a Clue in 52 is a tips book. And we've got 5 categories every time we do one of these. This is like my third one. We did Get a Clue in 52, the original, and the 5 categories were communication, networking, marketing, sales, and accountability. Then with co-author and good friend and client, Deepal Dayal, we did the Entrepreneur Edition, where the 5 categories were personal branding, business acumen, business ownership, work-life balance, and leadership and influence, not necessarily in that order. And then when we got to this year, I've been committed some volunteer time to be vice president of communication for the Professional Coaches Alliance on the heels of helping California coaches merge with Professional Coaches Alliance from the board position on that organization. So my mind has been very much on helping emerging and aspiring coaches. But as I, immerse myself in these communities that are furthering the profession and advocating the profession of coaching, I find that I've still got a lot to learn myself. I have a lot of admiration for the people that have been in the game as long or longer than I have, or that have taken their coaching paths in different target markets or applied coaching in different ways. I'm still learning and evolving. And that was really true earlier this week at the conference. I have so much admiration for all the people that I got to network with and learn from. All the panels, all the speakers were fantastic. I was on a great panel with incredible people that I know I'm going to be professional colleagues with for a long time. So it's exciting. But the idea is this: I've got something to contribute, right? I have a lot to learn, but I've got something to contribute. And here it is: Get a Clue in 52 for coaches. So the 5 categories that we have in this book are, first of all, self-promotion. We did 11 tips in self-promotion. We become a coach and we start to tell the world that we're a coach. Hopefully, we start to tell the world that we're problem solvers, and coaching is one of the ways we solve those problems. But at first, we're new and it's enamoring and it's exciting to learn how to help people and teams and organizations this way through the skills, the techniques, the dialogues, the understandings of coaching. It's so exciting. But ultimately, I think we're more than coaches. We're problem solvers. We're soft skill people. We're solution providers. And coaching is just one of the paths. So then we got into a section of tips on engagement. Once we've told the world that we're a coach, now it's time to get coaching clients and actually get people to enroll or to engage with us. So we had 11 tips from enrollment or engagement. Is that right? I don't know if that's correct. 11 tips. Why does that look strange to me? Yeah, 9 tips. There's 9 tips in the enrollment or engagement section. It was 11 tips in the self-promotion section. So that needs to be edited, that banner. I'll get to that. But what we focused on when focused on enrolling or engagement is what has been known throughout history, is that if you give somebody a risk-free sample of what it is that you're offering, your chances of enrollment or them adopting that new idea, product, or service goes up. So a lot of coaches out there struggle if they're giving either 0 complimentary coaching sessions, or 1 complimentary coaching session, or more than 2. I devised a system, and this helped me. I wouldn't be in the game if I didn't figure this out, by the way, because enrolling coaching clients one-on-one is one of the hardest things to do in coaching. It's all types of enrollments have their challenges, but one-on-one coaching, when you're selling coaching services to somebody that's paying out of their pocket or dealing with a limited budget, or if they run it up the flagpole. But the idea is, if you give somebody 2 complimentary sessions, by then they will know how it works for them. And then the consideration to get into coaching isn't about budget or any other factor. It's about knowing how that process will help the goal objectives, right? So it's very hard to test drive. Buy a car without test driving it, although some people do, right? And how many people are going to buy coaching unless they have experienced coaching, understand coaching? And how do they understand coaching unless we demonstrate it, etc.? So that's what we're really focusing on a lot in those 9 tips on enrollment or engagement. So then what happens is the third section of the book, which is where we're at right now, is on motivation. So the idea is we promote ourselves as a coach, we get coaching clients, and now it's time to deliver coaching. And one of my approaches to coaching is couched by the formula motivation plus accountability equals results. So we've got these 10 tips on motivation, and that's where we're at right now. We've got today, next week, and one more week after this, and then we're going to get onto the fourth section of our book, which is accountability. And then finally, we'll finish with 12 tips on practice building. Right? When our initials are in every box on our organizational chart, what's that like? And I'm going to have a lot of fun when we get to that section, but we've got some work to do first. So just a quick review of the tips in this section. We've talked about outcomes for motivational coaching. Generally speaking, we want to change behavior, right? That's what we want when it comes to motivational coaching. We want a behavioral change on some level. But there are 6 other outcomes that we've talked about that really help us understand that very well. And then we need some tools in our toolbox to help people change. We need external strategies, tactics, and resources for emotions, helping people manage their emotions, helping people improve their health, including getting to bed, to rest peacefully by focusing on thoughts, exercise, breathing, what we eat, and what we drink, of course. We have relationship tools. Relationships are one of the most important resources we have in our lives. And if they're not healthy, then it's hard for us to be as productive as we want to be in other areas of our life. So we've got tools to help people improve their relationships. And of course, we talked about some financial tools as well. And one of the key things I want to remind everybody about financial tools is that we don't have to be financial advisors. We don't have to be licensed with series this and series that to be able to ask, do you have a budget? What are your feelings about money? When's the first time that you had an adversarial situation when it came to money? You know, what are your thoughts around scarcity? How did you go up? What did mom and dad do for a living? What's that? We can ask these questions and get somebody ready to talk about money, and then refer them to somebody that has the licensure that they need to make sure that they're, fiduciary, if that's a word, fiduciary or fiduciarily responsible. You know what I'm getting at, right? But we don't have to be the experts. We don't have to solve everything. We have to get somebody willing to change their behavior. We have to get somebody willing to talk about it. We have to get somebody willing to talk to the professional that they've been avoiding all their lives. That's our job, not to solve it for them. Okay. So enough on that on financial tools. And then time management tools. We don't call it time management. It's in quotes. We call it self-management, energy management, discipline management, calendar management. We want to control. We want to manage what is within our control, and time is not. Father Time has been managing time since the beginning of time. So we're fooling ourselves when we say that we manage time. We don't. And it's also an excuse or an out to be victimized by, I don't have time, or I ran out of time, or I don't have time for that, or I wish I had more time, or if there's only one more time in the day. Stop all of that. We never say, I wish there was more self in the day. You've never said that. I wish there was more self in the day, because if you did that, then you'd be accountable, right? Anyway, I digress. We'll get to accountability later on in the year. We got a couple more tips in motivation first. We're only 3 weeks away from accountability. So last week we did tip number 27, basic business tools, business building tools. We talked about some of, like trust but verify by getting things in writing, understand contracts and how to read a contract, how to set up a contract, staffing, understand staffing. And there's some other things that we talked about when we talked about basic business tools, having a business plan, understanding strategic staffing, getting your contracts and agreements in order, surrounding yourself with a team of trusted advisors, like the real estate professionals, the fiduciaries, the insurance people, the lawyers, the trusted and estate planners, and all of those things. And then leadership and soft skills training, of course. You definitely want leadership and soft skills training. So that brings us to tip number 28. We are on productivity tools. Sue, before I read anything word for word, how are you? What's happening? Do you have anything to say or add or ask before we get into the word for word? I always do that and get a sip of coffee, right?
No, I'm good. It's good to be here. And I was just thinking, as you were doing the summary of all the tips to date, just the incredible amount of goodness that is in those.
Thank you.
And for any aspiring coach, how could you go wrong with that, if you weren't following those tips?
Yeah.
It's just so much richness.
I want to play humble, right? I want to play humble, but I got to be honest. I do want this to be seen as the Bible of coaching. No, I'm sorry.
Very good.
Right. I mean, I want it to be that really, really, really useful resource, and so that compliment is well received, Sue. Thank you. All right, let's get into it. This is actually quite a lengthy tip now that I look at it, and we're going to go for it. I'm glad I took a sip of coffee. Here we go. Tip number 28, get a clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. Here we go. Productivity tools. Sometimes it takes a business to grow to as many as 30 or more employees before any kind of internal human resources or legal, for that matter, person is hired. This is one of the reasons I break out the following organizational development and productivity tools. Yeah, in coaching my business owning clients or clients with direct reports. All right, here we go. That sounded awkward. This is one of the reasons. Yeah, okay, so here we go. So before a business gets to 30 people or so, that's before, I think 50 maybe even it may get to before you hire a dedicated full-time human resources person, right? So before that, people that are growing and building their businesses, our initials are in every box on our org chart, or there may be some overlap. So this is where we're getting at. I broke from word for word, but here we go. Org chart 101. Sometimes I call this the Klubeck 12-step program to be cute. The visual of a basic org chart allows me to walk clients through the 1, differences between owner, manager, and technician level work. 2, 4 main departments: marketing, sales, operations, and finance or compliance. Actually, if I redo the org chart, I've been thinking about that a lot since I actually wrote the book 7-8 months ago, through which to organize work. 3, possibilities for delegating, succession planning, or exit strategizing. And 4, 12 places to look if the business is hurting or failing to grow. The 12 accountabilities that must be met for the business to grow and thrive. The 12 basics of practice building that the final section of this book is solely dedicated to. So that's number 1 productivity tool, is understanding org chart 101. That's a basic. There's 4 reasons that I lay out here that I was reading word for word, why it's really, really helpful to really understand the basics of org chart and the reasons why it's important to have an org chart. Okay, let's move on. 2, the wheel of performance management. I use the simpler metaphor of a wheel with a hub and spokes that are stabilized by the hub and connected to the perimeter. See the infographic that I often screen share during sessions and then send to clients. So this is a note. Sue, will you remind me to offer this graphic to people? Because it's not printed in the book. Okay. See the infographic that I often screen share during sessions and then send to clients. It has an icon representing a position description as the hub document that strengthens, informs, and empowers every other document associated with managing an employee's performance. So here's a quick review, and I might be able to screen share and show you this document that I'm talking about. I'll probably do that, but let me go ahead and let me see. Let me see. This is getting more of a session than a tip reading, but just let me see if I could do this super, super quick. And if I can, I will. Okay, so let's go present. Let's go share screen. Let's do this. And now let's see. Window. Yeah, I might be able to do it, Sue. Learning how to be fluent. Tell me if you can see it.
Coming up. Yes.
Can you guys see? Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, so this it'd be helpful to look at as I'm reading word for word from the book, right? The wheel of performance management. I use the simpler metaphor of a wheel with a hub and spokes that are stabilized by the hub and connected to the perimeter. See the infographic? Now we can see it, right? See the infographic that I often screen share during sessions, and then I'll send this to my clients. It has an icon representing a position description as the hub document that strengthens or pumps life into or informs, empowers every other document associated with managing an employee's performance. Sue, can you see my mouse as it's moving around also?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So from the top, the ad attracts candidates to apply. But if we write a better position description, we'll write a better ad. Next, interview questions screen for fit and predictability of success in the job. The offer letter describes who the job reports to, how it is compensated, when it is reviewed for performance, etc. The employee handbook describes the rules for working at the company, including how to access work policies for communication, dress code, compliance, etc. The operations manual details the how-to of duties in the position description. Step-by-step instructions on how to do the job. The KPIs are the key performance indicators that let us know if the employee is doing poorly, average, or excellent. These are the measurable results we wish to see from the performance of the job. The meeting agenda here refers to the group and one-on-one meetings that leaders should be having regularly with their teams and direct reports. I recommend, quote, the anatomy of a coaching session, end quote, for the one-on-one meeting agenda. Note there, I should put an asterisk there because I don't know if we've gone over the agenda in the book yet. So you got to put an asterisk there and communicate that. We'll allude to it later on. So these are the meetings that should be having. These are the meetings, plural. Okay. All right. Got it. KPIs. All right. The meeting agenda for one-on-one and team meetings, right? Leaders should be having one-on-one meetings with their direct reports and team meetings, right? And I recommend that agenda. Next, the performance review. The performance review document facilitates performance review, right? And this is a challenge for small and micro business owners without HR and without structured, systematic accountability conducting these performance reviews. I wish I had 1,000 business owners on the line right now, and I raised my hand and asked how many of you, by show of hand, are conducting performance reviews annually on a scheduled calendar, right? You follow. They put it off, sweep it under the rug, ask for a rescheduled delay. When you get into more sophisticated organizations, they happen more regularly. But small and micro business owners and solopreneurs, they struggle. Organizations with less than 30, 50 people struggle to get these performance reviews done systematically, regularly, and it makes a difference in the employee engagement. Right? People want to know where they stand. What does a good job look like? How am I doing? How can I improve, etc. So let me move on. It's sort of elaborating. So here we go. If we in the performance review, we're either going to know if they're doing above average, average, or below average, right? So back to reading word for word. The Succession Performance Improvement Plan outlines the what to do when the employee's performance is to be rewarded or corrected, improved as revealed in the review. And then so the idea, what you see here is, if positive, right, you give a succession plan. If positive performance, what are the raises? What are the bonuses? What are the additional responsibilities? What are the promotions? What's the track to growing in the organization? Those are the things you talk about for somebody that's really kicking butt, right? And then if the performance is negative, if they're consistently below average meeting these KPIs, then you got to create a PIP, a performance improvement plan. So here's what we're going to do to improve performance. We're going to give you resources, mentoring, training. We'll shadow you. We'll make recordings. We'll give you access to, and then if it's still not working out, then you need the termination letter. Back to reading word for word. The termination letter is the professional way to release someone who is not performing and unresponsive to the performance improvement plans, retraining, support, etc. So let me get out of stopping to share right there. That's the wheel of performance management. And this is an incredible productivity tool to understand this and share this with business owning clients. They see them managing their direct reports and leading their people way differently. And it all comes down to having a really well-written position description. What's the title? What are the observable duties? And what qualifies somebody to do those things? And the more time you take doing a really good job here, the better all of these other performance management documents are going to be informed. They're going to come out better, and they're going to help you, us, as tools of accountability and objective measures that everybody can be on the same with in terms of what counts as performance improvement. A lot of times you write this termination letter and it's a gift to the person rather than a punishment. Sometimes people are miserable in the job because there was a bad strategic staffing process and they weren't supposed to be in that job in the first place, but they haven't figured out what, they haven't taken upon themselves to get a new job or communicate effectively. You understand what I'm getting at there, Sue? So sometimes this termination letter is really like a gift. Oh, thank you for letting me go. Thank you for freeing me to go, or repositioning me, taking me out of this position in the company and putting me in a different department or a different role when it's clear that my behavioral style and my acumen isn't right for this one. Maybe it is right for another area. But either way, thank you for getting me out of this situation. So we can never hesitate. We want to be slow to hire, quick to fire is what a lot of people have said that have been in this game longer than I have. So I'm going to stop sharing there. And how was that? I did it. I shared on the new StreamYard platform. All right, let me get through and read the rest of this here. We got a long ways to go. All right, next tool for productivity is effective meeting making. Oh, there's another typo. They say if you want to kill time, a meeting is the perfect weapon. Meeting effectiveness suffers from common failures. Ineffective meetings start late, run long, they go on tangents, they invite or excuse the wrong people, they serve to cover someone's butt, roll crap downhill, or pass a buck. They have poorly written agendas, if they have agendas at all, and very often anger attendees who feel their time has been wasted or ability to do their jobs compromised by the lost time spent in a useless meeting. I can fix it. That smiley face. It only takes one session to teach my effective meetings for task-oriented groups module, but it all comes down to identifying the function of every item on the agenda and then assigning the appropriate voice, amount of time, and best chronological place in the meeting. See the sample meeting agenda and the key planning around the 4 functions. So there's another thing. If anybody wants a sample meeting agenda, I'm going to have to make that available. We have samples of this, but here's the 4 functions. FI. For information means one-way communication. By coding an agenda item as FI, it sends a message that the person delivering that info is not to be interrupted and the appropriate amount of time can be budgeted for that information sharing, updates, status reports, findings from research, etc. It's just for information, one-way communication. Don't interrupt. This person has 2 minutes to deliver the information that they need to deliver to us. So on the agenda, if it says FI right there, it sends a message to everybody else not to interrupt, ask questions, overspeak, mansplain, or whatever it is that we're all guilty of, right? FD. For discussion, invites all voices, questions, ideas, input, and healthy conflict. More time should be budgeted for FD items than FI items. FDs require moderated turn taking and professional facilitation skills to get all voices included while keeping to the agenda, time, topic, etc. FA is the third accountability, for action or accountability. It's the third function of agenda items. So for action or accountability items, capture any decisions regarding who will be doing what by when, and can be anticipated to occur ahead of time and budgeted for on the agenda, like a vote or a call for volunteers, or they could emerge in the course of discussion items, still to be captured in the minutes and reported on as FI in the following meeting. So just before I read the last function, we're either giving information to the rest of the group, or the group is discussing what to do next and where things are at, or we're making decisions about who will be doing what by when. Let's inform, let's discuss, let's decide. FI, FD, FA. There's a logical rhythm to this, right? For any agenda item. But without coding the agenda items in this way and without budgeting the appropriate amount of time, meetings could go willy-nilly all over the place. Everybody's trying to be polite. Everybody's trying to be diplomatic. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to make a valuable contribution and all of that. But really categorizing by function the items on an agenda, you're going to facilitate more participation and so forth. And finally, FU is for unity, is always an attention getter. FU, for unity, is always an attention getter. It quite seriously addresses the needs of task-oriented groups to build some relational solidarity as well. I always like to start and end meetings with FU items such as meet, greet, open chat, celebrate wins to open, or a round of acknowledgments to close out a meeting. I always want to start a meeting with an FU and end a meeting with an FU. And there's other times in the middle that we can sprinkle them as well. But I want people to feel unified right away, and I want people to leave the meeting unified when I'm doing meeting planning. All right, so there we go. Those are 4 functions of effective meetings for task-oriented groups. And if you're interested in what this looks like on an actual agenda, where there's an agenda that's blank in the notes section, and then that meeting takes place, and then the notes section gets filled up, and then you build the next agenda. These things build on top of each other. There's a lot more strategy here that I'm not even sharing with you because I just got to stick to the word for word here, even though it's very hard for me to just sit still and read word for word. Here we go. Biographical delegating. Look at that. What are you talking about, Jeff? Well, let's read it and find out. Most of the business owners, entrepreneurs, or high-performance intrapreneurs I've coached in my career keep too much on their plate. All it takes is one experience of delegating something to someone who totally screws it up, and next thing you know, we are buried in doing everything ourselves. This puts us on a road to overwhelm, burnout, mistakes, and a shell game of managing all the expectations we have set, properly doing the time without properly doing the time math for realistically getting to it all. All the while, the truth is that people never really screw up anything we delegate to them effectively. And most people do not know how to delegate effectively. When asking someone to do something, I want to anticipate how I feel when someone delegates to me. We all want to do a good job. We all have instinctual resistance to change. We all want to help and so forth. So when delegating, make sure you answer these 9 questions for the person you are delegating to and watch your effectiveness skyrocket. So before I read these 9, Let me take a deep breath and a sip of coffee. We're talking about effective delegation here, right? Sue, do you have any just quick comments while I take a sip of coffee, catch my breath, and gear up for the final portion of reading here? Am I onto something? How effective is delegating? How do you struggle with it? Are you afraid of it? Do you see people that are afraid to delegate because people have screwed it up in the past, and PTSD for delegating stuff, or if it's up to me, and nobody can do it as well as I can, and all of these psychological games people play to avoid effective delegation? Do you have any experience with that?
Well, it's interesting. I've got a situation that because I'm away next week, but after that I've got to come back and deal with a situation where delegation was not done effectively, and now a director is turning around querying why a particular person has not been doing any work in their area. And I'm thinking, well, you didn't delegate, you didn't give them any direction. So
okay, yeah, and so right here we go. So tell me if any of these help in this situation.
Yes.
Or let's pray together that your boss is listening right now. I'm joking. I don't know. This is not your. I don't know. I'm joking.
No,
around.
it's not my boss. No. But I've got to deal with the fallout.
Okay. Oh no, you got to clean up somebody. Anyway,
here we
go. It's all good. We forgive people for they know not what they do. Right? We forgive people for they know not what they do. And here's the key: I delegate. That person may think that they did delegate it. Follow. So now why didn't? And so if we can encourage leaders to look within and actually admit, you know what, I probably didn't delegate that effectively. Let me do a better job delegating, and then if we can just get that going, then everything's going to be better. But let's see if any of these 9 little mini tips within the tip help out. Right? Because you could see, Sue, I could write a 9-chapter book, couldn't I, just on delegating?
Ooh, right? Yeah, absolutely.
So it's interesting to cram all of this into like one tip in a 52 tips book, but when we break it down, there's thousands of tips in here, isn't there? Right? Here we go. The bottom line is, if I'm going to delegate to somebody, I get away from autobiographical. What I need. Well, I'm not going to communicate from my story. What I try to do is write the story, write the biography of the person that I want to delegate to. So if I can get inside their head and imagine what it's like to be them, I got 9 questions here that I probably want to answer for them in the course of delegating. That's what I'm getting at. So I literally divorce myself from myself, imagine what it's like to be that person, and I hear the questions in their head, and then I come back to being myself and I want to answer them. Here we go. Okay. So imagine now we're talking in the mind. The voice here is not me. The voice that we're about to read here is what's going on in the mind of the person getting delegated to.
Yeah.
If we can anticipate that they're going to ask these questions, won't we delegate more effectively? Here we go. Is this an opportunity or a chore? Be honest about this and do your best to answer the what's in it for me question that your direct report is likely to have. Why me? Other than so you don't have to do it. Why are you delegating this to the particular direct report? Answer this question for them in a way that might engage them further. 3, what does a great job look like? Can you provide a model, diagram, picture, or another way for the person to visualize or verify that they are on track or done and done well? 4, am I on my own? If not, be clear about the ways you can offer support, including any boundaries. 5, is this an opportunity or a test? Right? Different question than is this an opportunity or a chore? Is this an opportunity or a test? Are there consequences for doing poorly? And if so, what are they? Next, am I clear in what you were really asking of me? Never assume they get it simply because you told them. Make sure they can repeat back to you what they are hearing so you can listen for and fill in any gaps in understanding. 7, where does this rank in importance among all other duties that I have, right? Where does this rank in importance among other duties? Help the direct report negotiate the fitting of this new thing into how they had already managed their calendar. 8, by when must it be done? And what counts as done? I love the word draft for getting a commitment to due date without pressure to be perfect. You guys hear that? I love the word draft. So you can get a draft done by this due date. You won't be perfect by the due date. First of all, because perfect never exists, right? Something can always be improved. Largest room for the world is always improvement. So when I'm delegating, I use the word draft, every chance I get. Draft. I know it's not going to be done or perfect, but this is the date by which I need to put my eyeballs on something to support you in all the other ways that the previous 8 tips told you I was going to support you. Right? Finally, number 9 here in the bullet list of biographical delegating. What are mutual expectations for checking in with each other to make sure I'm on track? What is your availability for me to check in with you? And what can I expect regarding your expectations for reporting on my progress or milestones? Right? So there's probably more sub tips that we could put in there, but those 9, like, just start. Just, are you answering those 9 questions for people when you're delegating to them? And if you take the time to answer those 9 questions for them, say, look, I have an opportunity for you. This may seem like a chore because you're not necessarily sure how to do it right away, but trust me, it's an opportunity. And I say that and I'm coming to you because you have the skill set, and mastering this task is going to be waiting for you down the road. And it's key to your next level in our organization. So we're going to start here, and we're going to get you on the road to mastery. And here's what a great job looks like. There are some models, and it doesn't have to be perfectly like this, but here's some examples of things that have been done in this area before. And you can have some creative freedom, but make sure you nail these elements in whatever you produce. And no, you're not on your own. Right? Here are the ways that there are other resources available to you. Here are the people that you can contact if you need help with this aspect of it. Contact so-and-so in this department. If you need help with this aspect of it, you can contact me, on and on and on. Right? Do you hear what I'm doing here, Sue? I'm putting, and by the way, this is not a test, so you cannot fail. We want to see your draft by a due date, but it's not a test. You're not in any danger here. There's no sneaky punishments that are waiting for you if you don't hit it on the mark. We want you to grow through this opportunity. It is an opportunity. It's not a test or a chore, although it may feel that way at times. Be clear. I'm being very clear with you. It's not a chore or a test. This is an opportunity for you to grow and embrace this new thing. And let me hear you repeat back to me what I'm asked you to do. You hear that silence? So now they can say, well, you want me to this and that and the other. And now really I can listen for how clearly they get it. Right? And then, and by the way, among all of your other duties, as is the case every week, the very first thing that you do every week is this, and the very second thing you do is this. But then beyond that, you can put this in a third place level of priority, so long as your draft is ready by the due date. Hopefully that's enough leeway for you to negotiate your calendar. And we've got the due date there, and then mutual expectations for checking in with each other. Please don't text me on the weekend, but you can send me an email at the end of any business day, which will give me the evening and the following morning to respond to your needs. So always be patient with me. And that's what the availability is on check-ins. We can connect once a week, whatever. I'm making all of this up. But now the person's going to run through a brick wall if you give them that level of support. So let me finish up today's tip by saying, as coaches, we can make a huge cumulative impact on our clients' productivity with the tools I have shared above and countless others. I hope this is added to your toolbox, and promise you there is more where this came from in terms of external motivation using strategies, tactics, and resources. We now turn in the last 2 tips of this section to an embarrassingly thin summary of intervention tools, perspectives of intervention, and the steps and ingredients of successful interventions. So what that last paragraph was reminding us is that in the whole land of motivation, if I do a million things to provide motivation to a coaching client, anything that I do to motivate a coaching client is either going to be external strategies, tactics, resources, like all of the stuff that we've read in the first 8 tips of this section, including several more we haven't gotten to. But the other side is the checkup from the neck up, the behavioral intervention. That's the other way to motivate somebody to new behaviors, get them out of their own way, replace limiting beliefs with empowering alternatives, intervene in ignorance or misinformation or habits, patterns, fears, emotional addictions. We want to be, that's the other way to motivate somebody. It's one thing to give them the boat, the crew, the map, and the blank check. But if they believe the world is flat, they're not going. So world-class coaches, we want a collection of strategies, tactics, and resources for all these areas that we've been discussing that will help people perform. But we also need to be able to get people out of their own way. If we only have one and not the other, we're not going to be world-class coach. We might be like continent class coach. We might be like nation class coach, but you want to be world-class, you got to be able to do both. And that's not necessarily true. It's just what I believe and the way I've built my skill sets and my toolboxes and how I'm training others in the world. And it's time to let you guys know that while I do this for free every week, I read a tip, 3 times per month, we have group mentoring, online office hours. It's a for pay situation. We charge $100 a month for it, but you get access to over 100 recordings of me training people in all of these methodologies that we're talking about, plus the 3 brand new live sessions every month. And I think we've got right here, little promo for online office hours, group mentoring, 3 live sessions per month, plus $100. Over 100 sessions in the archives. But what we've got here is a code to go from 100 to 50. So if you use this code TIGVIP M50, you'll get 50% off. And it's really simple. tinyurl.com/TIG Clues Ooze. That stands for the Integrity Game Clues Online Office Hours. TIG Clues Ooze. All one thing, no apostrophes or anything like that. tinyurl.com is easy to remember, and the suffix here hopefully is easy to remember. But that's where you can get 50% off and just $50 a month. We can do 3 live sessions every month where it's part mentoring. You can ask me anything, but anybody else that's in the session can chime in. So there's a little bit of mastermind quality there, a little bit of one-on-one coaching, a little bit of training, mentoring, mastermind. It's all kind of a hodgepodge, especially the more people that we get into the program. So I'm doing my best to populate that because it's very valuable, and I want to make sure that you're all aware of that. We talked about freebies in the past that you can get. You can email us and get 8 steps to fearless public speaking. You can email us. You can actually get coaching sessions scheduled. If you haven't done it already, you can get 2 complimentary coaching sessions with myself or one of the coaches that I've trained to schedule with me. It's very easy. meetme.so/getaklu. One of the things that costs a little bit of money, but I recommend very strongly, especially for aspiring and emerging coaches. Well, it's true for any form of coach. I'll tell you why. For aspiring and emerging coaches, when you join the Professional Coaches Alliance, you're in a collective, an alliance, truly, of people that are advocating the profession and working very hard to get more coaching into the world. So we have to do that through professional development and learning how to build business. We all know how to coach, but how do we build a practice, right? My 12 tips at the end of this book are all about it. But if you want to not be alone and feel alone, and if you want to be vulnerable with an alliance and a collective of like-minded individuals that are really passionate about helping other people in the world through this beautiful, process called coaching, but you don't want to be alone. You want access to archives and recordings and speakers and people that have blazed trail. The other thing too is that there's service providers. There's people that sell to coaches because we need to invest in things to run our businesses, whether it's a software program or a CRM management tool or an app design or a web builder or a funnel builder. There's all kinds of things that we need. We're good coaches, but we're not brilliant marketers. So there's a lot of people that come in and provide services that are designed to help make a coaching practice better. I could keep going on and on. There's opportunities to serve. Some of you haven't served on a board yet, haven't put that on your resume. Like, look, I'm VP of this or I'm director of that. On your resume for professional development and to give back to the community. So there's a lot of mentoring and give back opportunities for established and seasoned and mature coaches. There's different levels. In other words, and Professional Coaching Alliance is just doing everything it can to be relevant and viable as a nonprofit place for you to grow your practice. And it's not intimidating, not threatening. We've got lots of room to grow, and I couldn't recommend joining our alliance. It's like you get a month for free, and if you like it, it'll convert to $29.99 a month, $29.99 a month. We do at least 4 programs throughout the month. When we do connect and learn events, and we bring in business builders, and it's just really workshops, and you roll up your sleeves. Sometimes you hear content in one session, and then 2 days later you get in and you roll up your sleeves to apply it. So really fascinating and great people involved. And so obviously I'm a huge fan of the Professional Coaches Alliance. And shout out real quick to Margot Garcia. She's been really wonderful this year. Of the 28 tips that I've read, she's been here for over 20 of them. And she's just a fantastic, brilliant professional. If you're interested in speaking to the members of the Professional Coaches Alliance, you want to talk with Margot. She's VP of Programs. So we have opportunities for coaching service providers to speak, or advanced high-level coaches to speak to the aspiring and emerging coaches. So if you want to be a speaker, if you want to be scheduled in the programming for Professional Coaches Alliance and speak to our community, Margot Garcia is the person that you want to reach out to. And back to a freebie, if you want some cool video, you can go to my YouTube channel, watch Get a Klu. And we also have another video on why 2 complimentary sessions. I mentioned this earlier in the session, and when I was reviewing the tips that got us to where we are today, that, yeah, I formulated this process of 2 comp sessions. And I want to say 10 years ago, I shot a video that goes over, it's a 22-minute video, and it goes over at least 8 or 9 reasons why 2 sessions instead of 0, 1, or more than 2. And if you're an aspiring or emerging or struggling coach and you're not getting the one-on-one clients that you want, one place that I would encourage you to look is, how are you doing complimentary coaching? How do people learn that you're a coach and try your services on the way to enrollment? What is that process by? Are you doing 0 complimentary coaching? Are you doing 1 session so they don't know what accountability is like? Or are you doing more than 2 sessions so they're getting the coaching for free and you don't know how to put a boundary up? What's going on? And maybe the 2-session system can help you, especially if you understand the 8 or 9 reasons why. So for free, you can send an email to info@getaklu.net. In the subject line, put why 2 comp sessions, and we'll send you that 22-minute video so you can learn why we did it that way, why I devised it that way, and how it's really, really just instrumental in getting to me where I am in my career. So that's a review of our freebies and some of the paid things. There's one last paid thing that I do want you guys to know about, which is the Integrity Game 90-day challenge. This is a group coaching program. We're starting it in September, so you're going to start to see all kinds of promotions from us over the next 6 weeks. We're especially heavy in August, right? And if you're interested in being a speaker in the group coaching program, I've got 12 sessions that I'm trying to book speakers for. I've got an introduction session. I don't necessarily need a guest speaker there, but then there's 10 sessions in the middle of the program that I need speakers that can talk about purpose, gifts, potential, goals, strategies, tactics, resources, relationship with word, action taking, intentional learning, accomplishment and accumulation, and then service. So if you have content in any of those 10 areas and you want to be a guest speaker in the Integrity Game 90-day challenge, now's the time to reach out to me and start having a conversation about that. But basically, I don't talk about the Integrity Game too much in the Get a Clue in 52. This is my personal brand about the world-class coach I've become and how I want to help others develop world-class coaching acumen. But the Integrity Game is the brand that doesn't have my name on it. It's the Integrity Game, and we're trying to make accountability non-threatening. What would happen if accountability was non-threatening? So very simply, we encourage people to answer these 10 questions for themselves, and now we can hold them accountable to what they want, and it makes it less threatening. But the Integrity Game is as easy to understand as it is difficult to play. And so come on into the group and be around the like-minded individuals and let me lead the way and let me wear it on my sleeve and show you my answers to the 10 Integrity Game questions to encourage you to have answers to your questions. And when it comes to integrity, the truth is we all have some and we all need more. And the truth is most of us accuse others of not having any, but we don't know how to increase our own. We can't tell somebody how we've increased our own integrity, how we've got to from a 5 on a scale of 10 to a 7 on a scale of 10. What do we do to increase our integrity? What do we do to retrofit our integrity, to strengthen our integrity? Nobody can explain that. Well, that's the brand promise that I'm trying to make in the world. It's a framework that I'm introducing. I'm super excited about it, Sue, because I just communicated the Integrity Game to a bunch of education professionals at a conference in Vegas, and it landed. It was so well received. And I'm just infused with all kinds of new excitement. And that's hard to say because I was already top level excited about the Integrity Game. But I want you guys to know that the 90-day challenge, last year when we built it, it was $297. Until September 1st, it went up to $497. So it currently sits at $497. But this September 1st, it's going to go up to $997. So if you're interested in this, get in now. If you want to sample, if you want to preview, if you want to ask questions about it. But what it is you've got an archive of all of the recordings that we did last year, and then you're eligible to participate in any way you want in all of the recordings that we're going to add this year. So we've already got a set evergreen program. It's done for $497. There you go. But for $997, and it's going to get more and more expensive down the road because we're going to keep on adding new experts and new content to it, etc. So if you have any questions, let us know. But there you go, tinyurl.com. This is an easy suffix to remember, TIG hard 90. TIG hard 90. And hard 90 is a term that baseball players use to like run as hard as you can to the next base. Like don't trot, don't jog. Hard 90. Hard 90 means run, fast, right? But so I'm playing on the baseball analogy, and I'm saying hard 90 is looking within. I want to make it easy and fun to look within. It sounds like a hard 90, but we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. And just so you guys know, the integrity game is a parable and it's set to baseball. And so I play on those themes and metaphors until we do a second version of the integrity game that has some other theme that gets the same model out there, but with some other theme, some other vertical, a real estate version, or an estate planning version, or a home finance version, or there's other versions of the integrity game and other industries. But I just started with baseball because it's close to my heart. My son just moved into San Diego State University last week to start his Division I college baseball career. And so that's where I started, close to my heart. And that's it's kind of like what's involved in everything. It's my heart, right? I know what coaching has done in my life. And so now I'm at a point where I'm ready to give back. And that's why I've been here with these tips for coaches, aspiring, emerging coaches. And guess what? I'm learning as I'm reading every week. As I was writing it, I was learning and reminded of all the challenges that I faced and still face. So just because I'm writing the book and I have a lot to contribute does not mean by any stretch that I'm done. This is Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. So thank you, Sue, for being here every week. And those of you that are following out there online, watching these recordings whenever you get to them. And for all the ways that you contact us in the future because you believe somehow, some way we can help and make a difference. Closing thoughts, last call, comments, questions, jokes, expressions. What do you got, Sue?
I was going to say, like in this tip, you've offered 4 examples of productivity tools, and just looking over them again, I think for anyone, whether they're a coach or even a leader in an organization, these 4 tools cover such a high percentage of issues, I think, that arise within organizations. So they're a really good place to start.
It's thank you for that. That was the intention at a high level, right? And by the way, just to be completely transparent, I want to sell coaching. I want to sell coaches training. I want to sell people into the group mentoring. So there's more where this came from. It was intended to be at a high level to trigger the mind on how many issues just these 4 pieces of content can help us coach others with. But I also want the minds racing for how much more there is. And you know that there's so many more tools and so many ways we can break this down when we get into group mentoring and the actual coaching and leadership training. So again, if anybody out there wants to be personally trained by me, you want to be personally trained by me on how to coach or improve your coaching or to up-level your coaching practice or to get out of your own way or any improvement that you want to make, if you think that I can make a difference, I'd sure love to, because we believe in coaching and we believe in the difference that it makes in the world. So there you have that. But yes, I'm so pleased that you see that, oh my God, just these 4 can solve so many, or at least give insights. It can empower somebody to get after solutions to the problems we face. Well, have you looked at your org chart? What? Oh, how are your meetings run? What? How do you delegate? Huh? Does that mean just those 4? Right? Have you looked at your org chart lately? How do you manage performance? And are you on track to do performance reviews for your people? And how are you conducting your meetings? How often do you meet with your people? Huh? How often are your group meetings? How often are your one-on-one meetings? Deer in headlights, right? And then, of course, when you delegate, how do you delegate? That's all I've got. What is that, 4 or 5 questions? Now I've got 3 months of worth of coaching if I just have 4 questions in my toolbox. Does that make sense? Because then the rest of it will get into the structure of sessions and how we get from asking these questions to nailing down action items and commitments that people will, take action on and then report on. So we're not in accountability yet. We're just in motivation. So these questions with these tools in our toolbox help us move in the direction of getting people to make commitments to taking actions that they didn't know about or were avoiding or what have you. So we'll get to accountability in the next section, but we're done with now external strategies, tactics, and resources. And now we're going to get into, well, that all sounds great, Jeff. I know I can solve a lot of problems there, but I'm afraid, right? Or I don't want to, I regret, I fear, I dread, I whatever. So now the next 2 tips in the book are all about the ingredients of intervening and the steps of intervening and the stinking thinking that would prevent somebody from executing otherwise really incredible strategy, right? And it's so funny. We try to put the fun in the fundamentals. Now, this isn't rocket science. These are basics, right, that people can't pay attention to when they're in overwhelm. So we like to slow things down for people, ask solid questions, help them see at a high level. Like the Goodyear blimp, Sue, like the Goodyear blimp floating over a sporting event, right? Giving aerial coverage. So we like to, as coaches, take people up and say, hey, let's look down. You see the field now? Do you see both goalposts? Do you see all the fans in the stadium? You see the parking lot? You see the traffic surrounding? Oh, yeah, I see all this stuff. When you're on the field trying to do a center pass, or when you're on the field trying to stop a ball from coming at you, right? You can't see everything. Right. So coaches, we often take people up to give them aerial coverage so they can see stuff, and then we send them back down there with the motivation to go execute a play that they couldn't even see before, when they're dealing with so many people in offense and defense and balls moving around and fans cheering and screaming and all of that stuff. We want to take them away from all of that in our coaching sessions, empower them, and send it back down with renewed vigor and focus. So thank you for that. What else? Anything else before we dismiss for today? No, I think you muted, Sue. I didn't hear you there.
All good.
Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Well, thank you all, as always, for being here.
I said, yeah.
Yeah, there's just maybe a little delay there. And there we go. Get a Clue in 52 for coaches is signing off for this week. We'll see everyone next week. Sue, I know you told me you may not be here next week or the week after, but as soon as I see you, it'll be great. And thanks for all the support that you've given to what we're doing this year, all these weeks that you're on consistently. It means the world to me. So thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay. Good night, everyone. We'll see you.